Semjen tamje dewa dan dewe gyudang dembara. Semjen tamje dunga dunga yi gyudang jawara. Semjen tamje dunga mebe dewa dan minjawara. Semjen tamje nirin chadan nidang dra. Tong nyamla nebara gyur. Semjen tamje dewa dan dewe gyudang dembara. Semjen tamje dunga gi gyudang chawara. Semjen tamje dunga mebe dewa dan minjawara. Semjen tamje niren chadan nidang drawe. Tong nyamla nebara gyur. Sajibe oeji. Jujimento odom riroliji nyedeyemba songejendu mendembu de Grenanda Jen la Jebaj Idam Guru Rana Mendala Kani Ataya. Punzo Gele Chawan Dumiku Tayan Duere Wakumen So Malaysia Jinzibe Shaye Jabotella Kuicha. 야다 합다 가시는 것은 근데 소야 중요 말했어. 아 롱발라 갈긴 첨본 근데 내염 첨부시 중으로 다간가 접잡죠 같아. ben시밖에 첨부 차디요. 그래서 다 달렌 내비안데 베니 겐존이야 말에 아니 다 용수서 발랑 거네. 근데 내염 첨부지 인상 강간 나라주 최대 야보제야당 아니 칼라 주된 칼라 아니 새 롱아지 자야 아니 그래서 빼미스럽게 좀 차디어래 개치셔도 때렸다 아니 다 규체야 로정들이면 킹은 장조 남도기로 와서데 송여래 와다 킹은 장조 남도기로 저데 니니 강할 체디고라 추기 돈에 삼단에 수수semla 디키두야다 수수sem라니 투마주지 셈셈데 맞지 세니 이 텔란 돈렌제니 이 돈이 추 로추스 로아지 제거데 미스버 개침버레스.
So now we're meeting here together online because these are very special times. We now have this worldwide epidemic, and this epidemic is in our area, and we actually, it's very, very important that we all must be very, very careful. And so now observing the advice which is to actually for groups not to get together, to like not have gatherings of people together, but rather we should stay home. We should stay inside, and while doing so, we should really, really watch our health. These are some very important points. We should eat well and really take care of our health. And so additionally, when it comes to meeting with adverse circumstances in the Dharma, it is said that we should take adverse circumstances on the path. We should bring them into our path of practice. And so what we should do is, although these are very difficult circumstances, we should see them as an opportunity of Dharma practice, which is always of benefit when we have Dharma practice. So in this way, it becomes a source of Dharma practice, but not a source of worry for us. And so it's said that we bless me so that my mind may turn to Dharma. And then, so in this way, we bring that very instruction onto the path of practice at this time.
자자 다 뭐에 니치 라 렘바치네 다 나잔딜라 멘치요 말에 다 셀댕기 엠지레 냠뇽친기 네 멘자바레 이것도 가서 가래 숭구도 때 숭나진 지제는 아주 다에 소수 트레이딩 소수 단len지와도 미스베게 첨보레스 말아니 또비어 말아 규 nga nipaise de chilo kon deshaina ta neyam tegi tharba juntang mare ota chilo manda ke kaso tu nalonde labo tuyare zangda treden cheare deso 시작은 내가 전부 차요 왜 니즈 렘바지 버래 점den ni sungde 왜 니즈 렘바지 숭고하러 와 그럼 가자도 그 발타길 타기 찍어야지 누가 그래서 미스베 깨쳐버려야지
And so now we have an epidemic, a pandemic that we have not seen the likes before. And there is no cure for this at this time. So it's a very difficult situation. But what we do have is we have experts in the medical field, and we have doctors that are working with this on the ground as we speak and gaining experience. And so what we must do is we must do as they say. We must listen to their advice, and as they advise, so we should do. Because otherwise we need to fix this together, and otherwise we will not be able to get out of this situation. And so what we have to do is we have to listen to their advice, which is to stay inside, so shelter at home. We should really take good care of our health. We should be constantly watching our hands, so really watch our hygiene, because that's the actual experience in the moment. That is the reality of what is out there right now. And the Buddha said that what we must do is deal with the nature of the reality at hand. And so as far as this epidemic, this pandemic goes as well, we must listen to this very current advice and go with the situation that we find ourselves in.
윤동아서 최제야 거기야 말에 레게진자래 총래 인디게 아니베 총래다 내가 망보시우지요래 다 인디가랑서 뒤쳐민도 다 제가 뒤서 간디시게 거래서데 뒤왔던 거래 다 달래 뒤왔들래는 야보시우지라 버렸어.
And so usually we're all so busy. We have so much work to do. We don't get a big break from work. And so we often say, like, we have no time to practice the Dharma. We have no time. Okay, so now all that has changed and we have all this time on our hands. So there's a big question here. And the big question is, what do we do with that time? And so now, it's time for a really good answer to that question. So, we can't say, so now we can't say, oh, I'm too busy, I have to work, I don't have time. We can't say that anymore. Now we have time. If you have time, then you have, even if you have, 2 hours. No, so correction. Now we have 24 hours each day to practice.
내염데 참도 지야라 점이 중간한다 작전 망보지도 되나네 난 점이 중간 되미신 제요 말 점이 중간에 양양도 사야 유저 도스진 사이나 때미스바 펜도락 첨부용 거래 사두가라니 Ranchipi tonda samtang yomare. Semjenta jelata netang. Naza di kengita mi mambuji muginjiba yoyaki nyagayore. Netang muki danta te dunga kares. Luigi dungare, semji dungare. Wata tetu kanga ni pe seliabe solate te ni drome zunga kurete pe misiwa kechimore yesi.
So now we have this time, and how can we use it most beneficially? And His Holiness the Dalai Lama has explained this and has explained that he would actually be undertaking the practice of Tara at this time to help to pacify this worldwide epidemic, to bring about benefit. And he said that he would be doing many pujas. There would be many pujas for this purpose. And so we should, as much as we possibly can, actually accumulate, do the practice of Tara, engage in the practice of Tara, and accumulate the mantra as much as we can. And as we're accumulating Tara's mantra, we should remember that it's not just about oneself. One shouldn't just think about solving one's own issues and staying healthy oneself, but think about actually all of the beings that are in the path of the destruction of this pandemic. Actually, it knows no borders. There are so many that this pandemic actually brings harm and danger to. We are all in its path. And so as we recite and collect, accumulate this mantra, we should think about all the beings that could experience harm, not only physically, the physical suffering, but the mental suffering at this time. So thinking of all that, we should supplicate Tara and recite her mantra.
Luigi niba nyamgare, lusu nyamrogore, lusu nyambayina, ne nazagi dungchojo chagare. Ko kente matena nazajanta zini nyagayore. Indi sem la jumbale macho, sem la popale ya, toale bia, chanchugi sem to samlatang. Yani tajor nyagata to samlatang. Yani kanchi sem la trushu leyaki samlatang de pe misip kejimore. Kazan zundi lu no mangpo sungdo ase. There's law yan yang to. Zundi kia la, zundi ki topji kia guda. Topji yon ede, dina ngagel ki top singi to. Ngagi ki top te popare doa. Wata tika te samudang de pen misiba kechimbo reisi. Ta ninde gala ta ina, ta uni tane ki ngacho menza da, nana menza groa. Mende zana nasa ta groa. Wata taka najingi tanda semi kangal yedi gala, semi kangal siltabi samudang yade, pen misiba kechimbo chadi yore. Wata tika te yang do samudang, ani toshu lecho, toal popa le yade, popa pare yade, pen misiba kechimbo re, susuzuki.
So also it's very important that we really set our mindset in a way that is beneficial at this time. As hard as times can get, it's very important, especially now, not to feel defeated, not to feel discouraged. Because when we begin to feel defeated and discouraged, actually this has an effect on the body where it actually weakens the body. And one will be more susceptible to catching, other things as well, other sicknesses and, different things that are out there, because the body becomes a little weaker due to this and we become susceptible. And so rather than feeling defeated and discouraged and down, actually we should really feel confident and brave, and really fill our mind with bodhicitta, really confident and brave, courageous bodhicitta, ready to be strong and take this on. Because actually, And remember that we have obtained this precious human body with the freedoms and endowments that is so difficult to gain. And now that we have it, we should put it to use in a diligent way. We should persevere, especially at times of difficulty. And so we've just finished the chapter in the Way of the Bodhisattva that was completely dedicated to understanding the benefits of perseverance and diligence and how to establish ongoing diligence. And so read this chapter again and again, and remember those four forces or those four powers that feed in and play into diligent action in whatever it is we're putting our efforts towards. And especially remember that there was the force of pride, the force of the force of of a strong pride, and that's actually really important, because if you meet this situation with these four powers, such as we had talked about before, the power of this of this pride of knowing one can meet whatever it is through also steadfastness and so forth. There were these four forces. Then this is something that you will actually, whatever problem it is that you know, when we meet with a physical, for example, a physical ailment, we take medicine. We've got to kind of counteract that ailment. In the same way, when we have mentally difficult times, we have to find like a cure, something to reverse these kind of mental difficulties too. And so when we think using these four powers and this confidence and you know, and really turn our mental attitude like this, then we'll really be encouraged. We'll feel really confident, like this is something that we can take on and succeed. And this is a very important point.
이 강할 때 강아 셀로 그러와. 제가 셈나네 셈설치가 되라 이 미용에 돈달라 쪼쪼 거기 디 도초 뽑아대 간디스 파르고도. 왔다 공도 깨나 공도 미팅 줘도 가르래. 공도 빼 매아종인데 내가 매아종인데 수바래. 제가 수바에니 빼 컴플레도 당고야 돼 친구 차도 와. 니지 냠 죽은데 세와래. 세와도 없나? 아니 강라 니지 율들라 미바 섬전을 미베 짬바데 세와데 레기로 와. 왔다 때나 진짜 로 미튼초 로 따르는데라 로양 따바기 너베 용디가 로양 따바데 아주 야르게다이나 롱엠바데 란스 코 컵들을 매차도 와. 빼면서 깨침을 이 덴데데 르다 로기 토라 디체데 남비중도 약속 차디오래 인디가가 나서 삼노타야 뺀미세바 내 첨부지는 삼당 거래 단다 빼 미세바 뭐좀 고갑래 주주지나 촌당겨 말이스.
So now we are all in a shelter-at-home situation where we find ourselves inside far more than we've ever been, perhaps, in the past. And this presents difficulties. This can present many difficulties. We're not going about our usual activities, and all kinds of difficulties can arise. And so to meet those individual and unique difficulties, then we all must meet it with an attitude of, I can overcome this. So as once something that is unfavorable, if we find ourselves in an unfavorable situation, then what we must look for is the oppositional factor, something that will turn that around, kind of oppose it and turn it right. For example, when we think about hate, when we think about anger, which is unfavorable, what is the oppositional factor? What do we apply to anger in order to counteract it? We apply patience and tolerance. And this opposes our anger. So therefore, really working to establish and develop, progress along the path of practice of like really developing strong tolerance, being a very tolerant and patient person is invaluable, because we meet with these situations that sometimes, that will meet with our temper, and then we won't get angry. So very important. And in the same way, when we think about harm and destruction, which is unfavorable, harming, a harmful attitude, or maliciousness. What is the oppositional factor to maliciousness? It's compassion. It's loving kindness. When we are empathetic with the object, the object that is being harmed, as soon as we put ourselves in that place of feeling that, we automatically feel compassion for the situation. So again, what we need to do is understand the mind and understand when there is an unfavorable a circumstance or a mental arising, what is the oppositional factor that will bring it right? And then we work to develop those oppositional factors, or those antidotes, we could say, to the negative states. And so actually the mind is a very, very strong and important factor here in these times. And although we have adverse circumstances and difficulties, actually right now we have an amazing opportunity to work with our mind, to work with these circumstances and conditions. It's a really incredible opportunity, and we should not waste even 1 hour of our day.
준주 간제 삼 류든바 차네 다 준주기 류 차네 다 something user share 때 다 something user 오늘 게 첨부를 가지는 게 전부 차고 하래 다 녀모된 메서야라 동이도 별로데 기고 걸어와 동이도 별로 랑줄에 마케나 녀모된 메가지고 투야 거나 탑실 눈된 자원이니요 말에 제가 동이도 별로데 로데 된데 락바지기 로 녀모 단된데 로 락바지기 동이도 별로데 개투고 말에 제가 로 템포 로 템포 로 하정 템포지기 라 something is something 시고래 된도 something is something yula makena songi to tugo mare songi to bala something is sem gore something is sem yola zundu gore zundu
kare gole sunru e
zundi zundi yola kare gore zesem chembu gore mi zopachin zopaki yako yona teni zundi ki gore temada zundi yang da baji ke kha gore zopa yola kare gore sultim sungu gore sultim yaho jiwala kare gore sonam sa gore jimbe parjinde chi gore parjin tu de du sun dewa chimbu cha de ji la parjin amma raba chima thol du gore ke chimbu cha de ores
So when we last left off with our teachings, we finished the seventh chapter on heroic perseverance or diligence. And that was actually, we just finished that off, and now we have reached the eighth chapter on meditative concentration. And this is actually an incredibly foundational and important, indispensable chapter here, this 8th chapter on meditative concentration. And why is that? It's because in order to eradicate, completely and utterly eradicate the afflictive emotions of the mind, then one must first realize emptiness. One must see emptiness. And if one does not have the ability to rest in meditative absorption, then one doesn't have the ability to have the realization of emptiness. And therefore, one will not be able to completely eradicate the afflictive emotions. And because when the mind has coarse movement in it, when the mind is all over the place, then the mind is not stable. And the mind can never come to the realization of emptiness when it is moving here and there. It is only when one has the ability to rest in meditative concentration or meditative equipoise that the meaning of emptiness can be realized. And so what do we need to do in order to realize emptiness? We need to be able to rest in single-pointed concentration. What do we need to reach the point of single-pointed concentration? We need diligence in our practice. What do we need to do in order to get to a point of being diligent in practice? We need to have great patience and tolerance. Otherwise, if we're not really tolerant, patient people, we will not have the patience to be diligent and then to practice to get to the point of meditative concentration. And in order to have patience and have tolerance, then we need to guard our discipline. We need to be disciplined. And what do we need in order to be disciplined? We need to have merit. We need to have the accumulation of merit. And so we can see actually that each of the 6 perfections really build upon each other. Through working with one perfection, we then get to the point of being able to engage in and work to perfect the next of the 6 paramitas. And so all of the 6 perfections are extremely important, and we can see how they lead up to actually some very, very important experiences.
Something is same sitikala condition go jen buchi this one something sel no one you jalboi jana yi one you jalboi jana yeme ri one bujin tang ne go mi ba kunanju sel sunga es jaza something is same thing de pe riwang najin tempo zana riwang najin es something sel no
Ribbon
wangpo.
Oh, lasso.
Something wangur jalpoin. Jana yeme ri wangpo jin. Tangna gewe mi ba kunaju. Gewe mi ba kare jina. Something is sent mi ba tege. Gewe mi ba tamjane ju tures. Ota tendi ji juwar. Te jubala ta kare go ware. Majo kanje ta junju nala tandate Jine to Santos, Sarvasuma Marwa. Karzana, Junju de Sungsade, Nalente Kebatas of Sumra, the way of Marwa, the Tegala, Pagi, Tanganzo, Indugala, Tampo, Jine the Sort of Tangway, the Mississippi Kajamuchadi or S. There's a number of Salvador, during the judicial laws. Lamrim to the law, pay Yabo S.
And so we have the mind of meditative concentration. The mind of meditative concentration that it is said in the scriptures is as stable as a mountain, as strong as a mountain, as unmoving, as powerful as the steadfast mountain. And so in order for us to get to this powerful mind that is still and strong and unmoving, yet very powerful, we take our virtues and our visualizations, our path of practice in a way that we build on it through calm abiding, through the stages of calm abiding that then will lead us to become this strong, unmoving, firm, powerful mountain. And so we have what is called calm abiding meditation, the stages of calm abiding meditation. And these actually within this particular text, The Way of the Bodhisattva, it doesn't go into detail about instructing on these stages of meditation, because remember this, The Way of the Bodhisattva was written and presented to other great masters at Nalanda University, the monastic university in India. And so there was no need. This was already established for them. But so what and if you can read more about this, and you should read more about the stages of meditation in the Lam Rim, stages of the path instructions. It'd be very good if you could read that. But what I would like to do is go forward and instruct and give advice on these stages of meditation in what is called calm abiding meditation, which is the foundation of meditative concentration.
So, Shantideva, lui, dunjingi embaji kuware. Ta tandangaso dunjingi oya mara susunang zundediga, lui dunjingi embadang oni chadi ore. Ta san namto ke embaji kuware. Semla namto ndameda namto embashar mojo chene. Sem de kati ina gewe mi bala shi jatu baji kuware. Teni pemisu kechambore. Tini chuina teni Shantideva lela chagware.
Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about the practice of calm abiding meditation, there are several points that one who looks to engage in this meditation looks to establish. And one of them is to retreat away from busyness, from the hubbub of daily life. That is one of the points. And so now actually we are all in that very situation. We are all inside. And so actually that point we've all accomplished and established. And so that's physically. So physically you retreat away from the hubbub and busyness of life. You go to a quiet place. Secondly, so that's physically. Now mentally, we look to set the mind in a way that it is constantly oriented towards virtue, towards virtuous objects and virtuous practice. And actually, if while you're inside now, you can do that, really focus in a way that is towards virtue, actually, it's said that it would be very, very, much easier for one to actually realize or accomplish Shine or calm abiding meditation.
Loden kandu to be yuls, ta Shine to be yul the kandaji ko resina. Ta lodan demba. Any be kendi Shine to the again Michi yul kandaji gora. Any lepranyeta nezandas, lepranyes the toyer or kalatizo, le lavoches rayayoba. Nezambo sitigala, range lamayang. Any mungi kibutambateki chingila name deke.
Diesel puchuma songonda nipadi lama
rangi lama nezangze de nezangpoze doa. La Parneta, Nezan Tanzade, Nezambo Sidigalata, Chick Chumden de Pesayane, Lama Tamba Pesayane, Rangidation in Pesateni, Lula Tropinate, the country Lula Bebe, Kuma Chapa Mesantenina, Nezamburi, Nezan Zedigala, Kuma Mesa, Chapa Mesa, Chunda Mesa, Chunda. What is the main? Nezambuchi.
Okay. Chatsang ani gonda yabu komo ani nezang di kuma dang chapa mepa dang
kuma chapa yana yang kenge gerwa
laso dene chung
chunda chu chumbo yana yang
chudra
lungda chunda kanen ra chu chumbo yana jine tu tuwa mare ene message gu ware kagusimbo gu ware
laso
Dindi jichona sazangpo chagorta. Trozangpo zidigala susu lutumba chui jela robaching zaro yenata trozangde. Wata dindi jiguare.
Laso ani di dunsen sumba dunsen nipa. Dunsam tampo ani karela. Di nezampo di dunsen tampo?
Ne zampo zedeo rangi lame chingi lape ne deroa.
Di serbodo di dunsen tampo dang yamena nipa. Ne zampo, trok zampo.
Oh, ta dire. Najotang kang jubi yulde ki khabra shi gorwa.
Yul di tampo re. Laso.
Khabra shi gore.
Laso.
Yulde kandish guware zana jinu tupsi yulde ani pe ne zampo ji guwares sang rangi lama da nguni kibutamba pepe chingi lape ne chitang.
Laso.
Yang sa zampo tezamare sa zampo guwares. Sa zampo lule topa. Ani kuma chapa meba khala tuzu nye chocho yendeke. Ani tro zampo guwares.
Laso.
Tro depe yang chede mintumba jena tuzu yendeke chane yabo marwa. Wadenji guwares. Ani ji chuna najur Enipe Najube tape Jini Tubiagi, Yoje del Dembajiri, Yoje Denisi Guares.
Lasso. And and within in the scripture of the ornament of the sutras, it speaks about now the place where, more in depth about the place where one would best accomplish calm abiding meditation. There are some different points. It needs to be a place that actually one feels, it should be some place where one feels comfortable. That the weather or the climate is suitable to one, a place where one can get the food that you feel the healthiest eating. So there are some very important points about when you set out to do to practice calm abiding meditation. So when we talk about the excellent place for calm abiding meditation, it should be a place where one doesn't have to worry about bandits or being robbed or having any kind of problems like that. It should be a place that doesn't have it should be quiet. So it shouldn't be next to a roaring river or some place that would have a lot of noise, a lot of wind, or maybe a more modern day, and this is just in addition, a modern day thing might be, maybe not right next to the train tracks, I think is what was perhaps meant there. So it should be quiet, and you should feel comfortable there, and you shouldn't have any worries about being robbed or hurt or anything like that. Also, the climate should agree with one. So that's one point. Also, then one should be supported by what are called, the excellent, support. And this means someone who is helping to provide you with what you need, your food and different things like this. It should be really someone you have a good rapport. If they're supporting your retreat, it should be someone you feel good about, someone you have trust in, you get along well with, you have a good rapport, and you're in their hands, they're supporting you. So that's another point. So we have finding an excellent place and also having an excellent support. And this was in the ornament of the sutras.
Ni zaramba yona tsesi sinyala pengore then ola zaramba tinyada zakusha tinyade then ola zakusha tinyade deep da mizanwa silyare tende ki chondin yore deep da mizanwa zakusha doa kusha mizanwa zene ta zokpan rati roa zokpa tende myoya zangwa yoya ke chondin re oda zakusha do sujinala yona nāla kānāla tōchō de tīngyādāng, anī te yola sārāmbā chīngīshī kāshī zhāna yābu rēzē sūgudō yūndō. Anī te kēchambore, anī gyatō sūtōi nā di yabchī dīn rūmbōndē gārwa. Anī tā, tīnī lūgī namnāng chē dīndē, tā māngchā hāgu wē kire. Lūgī namnāng chē dīn kāmbā logic kirunje that digitire de shibuji kechambore sangi obamendo obame juda de chikpa chikyare ta number nanze juda den tadan de yomare nanang chudin zebe obame juda de chikpa chikyare obame kubari na telta de ni susu detante su shen tana tata hagures.
And so now once you've established that, you have found a place to meditate away from all the busyness. You have support, a place you feel comfortable. And then is also we need to understand in how to place our body. How should we sit? We should, how do we arrange the body before we engage in this meditation? And so actually there are what is called the seven-fold posture of Varachana. Many of you probably know those different 7 points. And also, if you don't know them, if you have a picture of Amitabha, Amitabha is sitting in the sevenfold posture of Varachana, so it's a very good example. You could look at that picture. Some of the important parts are, you're sitting on the ground, kind of in a clean place. Dine sala di desa di tsa, ani sala.
Tambu then gyapsa dela yungdung chi yekor jitina yabo res. Yungdung yekor. Sista lagdo yekor. Yungdung jitina yabo res.
Oh, laso. Okay, I cannot see. Okay.
Dete gala zarampa dan sakusha tangana. Zarampa de sesingia ki chondenche. Sakusha de tipta mizawa soe chondenche. And yungdung de tempo yongya ki tempo yongya chondenche.
And so we're sitting in the sevenfold posture because it really helps our health. It helps to establish a firm foundation, an excellent foundation. And we start at the bottom where we're crossing our legs. And when we're crossing our legs, then also the right leg is folded on top. So it would be the right side that's on top. And so this is the beginning of this, very stable foundation. And then our back is straight, and then the shoulders are open. So We establish, and the hands are, and I think Geshe La showed his hands. Yeah, I don't, we cannot see Geshe La.
대부분이 두수 거래스.
Okay.
엘테위요 따따 telajana 야버레스. 대부 두시데 다 두시데 대부분이 두야다 탑시 중도로 청거라. 간제데 대위요 따따 telajana 다페 두시네. 아니 두 션들도 고기 션로나지 라도 두시네. 디네 룽규야라 팽겨래. 아니 컴파도지 기준 아니 다 고미 타바 우다시 있다 담고 아니 고다 미베 나제 parla 미도 미 중기어 말에 뺐다가 중기어 말에 뺐다가 당기어 말에 당나 고팔레 그래라 거래 숨나 징와레 그래라 거래 미데 나제 파메도 시네 디 토토지도 디데 넨조지도 시네네 대구와래
So. Okay, so we have our legs crossed. The right will be on top, and if at all possible, in the full lotus position. Geshe La showed the hand position, which has the two thumbs meeting, and the two thumbs touching symbolize, represent the unification of method and wisdom. And so we're in, the back is straight, we're in full lotus posture. This helps the wind actually move freely within the body. And then with our head, we actually slightly tuck our chin in. So with the head, we slightly tuck our chin in, and then we are gazing out past the nose. So gazing downward past the nose. So in this gaze, your eyes should not be tightly shut, nor should they be wide open. If they're wide open, then this leads to overexcitement or agitation, busyness in the mind. If they're tightly shut, then this causes us to be too inward, kind of to collapse and be kind of lethargic. So it's important that we find a balance between these two.
아니 개바스기 동전아지 상고야데 송고라 고미 깜발라바 개바스음세데 진징바디 개바스디갈라 개바 룽보지데 게지데베 서기 동 가르장아서 콘사가나진 두스 룽부고가래
가리낭신 건다
맞아 관도 관사나베 갑도는 되기로 와
큰사
서기 동제데 서 빼샤여로 빼샤
알라서
quarter to sana dumpu degido ote dumpu guare
laso
ote teje keba de pe du su gebji de du su shang de ya de
okay
lapa de du se kamba lapa keba su gumi thapa uda ji se go mi thakpa de u de jo go de pe tu sen de ne 미데 나제 밥이야들이 인 추다 소도 렘벌자야래 지지 야 견래 잘해야들이 되게 전부지래 지지 견래 잘해야나 옴 땅부 제디갈라 지와멜래야 님이 구야다 된데기 개발이 거래 아니 옴 탈친선나 니구나 가주질 그러와 자그러와 대소미자야다 아니 옴야 윤정보 옴갭 통면라 아니 카나라 디 렌셔데 데인자 콤밤멜레야단 테네 팽그리 스무도아
라소
딘디제데 간적고바테야 간지텔라 남남기 최dwin 순거래 다 우딘 렘바이나 게 남남기 최게세도 우 룽참남 바바데 nembe게이나 이게 차거래 때마다 딘지
lasso. And so let's just go through and make sure we cover all of these 7 the 7 points of how to place your body in meditation. And so again, just reiterating, the eyes are going to be gazing down past the nose. And it's important that, and then the tongue actually is, so the head is slightly tilted, one is gazing downward, and the tongue should be on the palate. So it should be resting like behind the teeth on the top of the mouth. It's hard to show that, but there's a reason for that. It's said that when one holds this in meditation, then this is beneficial so that one doesn't become lethargic and sleepy. One won't get sleepy. Additionally, when you develop your meditation practice to the point when you can meditate for a long time, sometimes even the head will be really in meditation. Otherwise, we'd kind of be dripping saliva all over the place. So if we have the tongue there, that's helpful to kind of not be drooling. And then additionally, in meditating for a long time, if the tongue is on the palate, then the mouth will not dry out. And so you can see that that's a really important part. So just going back through the different parts of the posture, the legs are in lotus posture with that right one on top. The hands are in the lap, one's lap with the thumbs touching. The spine is very straight, and Geshe said that it's like when we could stand a quarter on its side, right? When you stand up a quarter, it is like completely straight. So this is an example of how the spine should be. The shoulders are open, but again, we have that downward gaze with the tongue on the palate. And the chin is kind of slightly tucked, and the eyes are just kind of open a little bit, not wide open and not shut. And then additionally, during meditation, we're breathing, right? We're taking breath. And if we were to count that as a step, that would be 8. So just going back, we have the legs, the hands, the spine, the shoulders, kind of where you're placing the head and neck down, tongue on palate, and the eyes gazing. And the 8th would be the breath. So those are the 8 things that you should attend to in your meditation posture.
이제 중부제거에 가려서 가라 맞아 자여로 자 우마 로마 장마서 자 우마지 로마 장마지 로장기 룽데 우면이 주고 와래 엄속게 대주더라 자데페 뉴부레 뉴부 차대어래
뉴부사나
배 가서래 배 릴라버지 두스 쿵대긴지 차대어래 두 저베나 자데 텐 룽부 차고 와래 룽부 차대가라 로장기 룽데 자데 니버티어래 우마데 니버티어래 디 예지니 깨니온거래 이 예지니 세트 troso가 치지어라 그 소마여라 그 소마드나 하고든 troki기로와 troki디가라 디 강파소리 지도와 거기 텔라 소마라 그래 어떤이 몸타텐지 마다요 말해 이 룽데다 로장이 그 룽데 우면이 주나 니 똑바스긴 기거라 때마다 기투고 말해 이리 때 이집진 룽보자에 때 미스베게 못 차대요.
So the way we position our spine and how we hold ourselves upright and straight and not collapse but open and straight is actually very, very important because we have the channels that are running through our bodies that carry these winds in our body. And I don't know actually that there are English words, so I'll just, use the other words. We have the Uma, which is I guess the central channel, the Roma, which is the channel on the right, Roma Dangyangma, which is on the left. And these are actually running. So the central, the Uma, the central channel is here, and then we have the Roma and the Gyangma on the right and the left. And actually, when our winds are very straight, then the winds on the side channels can enter into the central channel. And so the two side channels run up, and they run like around the ears. They run like in
nose.
or up through over the ears and through the nose or
Yeah.
behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the central stops at the central channel stops here, stops in between the eyebrows. And so when the body posture is straight, this allows for the winds of the side channels to enter the central channel. And when the winds enter the central channel, then it's said this is the only time that realization can take place. When realization takes place, the winds are in the central channel.
다 룬 참라 파파시야데 소소 곰 갸깔라갈라 다 심투디나 다데 냠nen디 자레 룬 참라 파파데 때마다 윤두고야요 말에 맞지 소소 공토다지게 마기바지 되요나 되디타페 룬 karnani samtane lung karnani nabu yengine lung karnani samta ene te tanga gevere yani jonga din kanji ya chiba di mato nishenga nishuzaji nishuzasum tende tanga gere tanga gedi gala lapa dang ta changa dang calculator tende tangyo mara sem khon yite gala tanga gebda yena tik mazu तेगल शू जने टंका जदे दा एनी लुंग दि सी टुकुरा लुंग दि सी माता तो तनी गवि छोला नंबर चाल करे ओदा तिंडी थाबसी रे
लासो dik kaduyana yang mena kontro
ke ta sem tube kabla odi nyamlen di jene ya go res
laso And so we see that within meditation, the winds are a very important factor. And the winds are a very important factor for us to work with also when we're feeling emotional, when we're feeling upset. When the mind is upset and it's agitated, let's say, for example, we're angry. We're feeling strong anger. And then all of a sudden, what we can do is we can just be aware of that, and then be aware of the breath at the tip of the nose where it's entering and leaving. So we are aware of our breaths, and we can count. There's no reason to use a mala or any other way of counting, like a little clicker counter. Just simply observe the numbers in your mind when we count in 1 and 2. And we can go, from, to 7 or 15 or 21, 25. We can pick our number of what we're going to, but observe the breaths until you reach that number. Just mentally observing the breath where it's coming and going at the tip of one's nose, because this is actually very pacifying for the winds, and then pacifying for the afflictive emotions as well. And then you'll arrive in a peaceful and pacified, more virtuous state of mind, and then rest in that virtuous state of mind. And so I clarified with Geshe, is this particularly just for anger? And he said, no, whatever it is, if you find yourself, something has upset you, then use this technique to bring yourself back to a very pacified state of mind.
Tati kontrudante kanji nyomonjengi semde meva soya tabshijire. Disunguya. Masu kebje namba nyige sungu. Kebje linu moche, shijana moche. Tema imba nga lamrim juse lamate sugu sunguwa. Tipe mesiwe mi pedin dijagadu. Mi lembachi. Dochada kontru ngargyal soba mi lembalak. Mi kupang lemba, mi lemba yoro, samrushira mi tangkanji.
Lasso.
디 빼자그도 아니 남장모제 아니 렌지 만이야제 다 밀렘바다 된데간 데디나 딱고 미 점바달라 오 콜라 장모로 코트비신 대주나 삼도 고르고 말아 미 콜렘바 인상 삼도 고르고 말아 미 장보데 그 가르라기래 오 하긴에 때문에 하고 싶은데 코로나 가겐데 어 때문에 하고 싶은데도 코 하라그라 나도 미 장보데 대샤거라 어때 존재지 전에 뭐 울어 잠깐 제인데 걸라 녀모데 배트가 셈니 턴도 거라 녀모데 때 우데 잠깐 스텔다는 녀모데 진고 거라 진도 걸라 렘상 유튜브 때마다도 곰게야데 숨고 거라 이 곰게 살서나 녀모데 깨두고 말이야 이 아무도 와 어때 때리 때는 람림나 룽창을 파바들 숨거래 룽카나 니타나 참 맞을 때가 참 참디가라 니니니 동도 좀 와다들 룽
까레니니니
참 참ገብ들 때가 참게거도
아하 라소
니니 동그래 자자 루네 카나 니가 두 예전에 가포 연전에 아버지 섬탄 두스 카나니 두스네 아니 마 땅에다 야 되니 찌든지네니 잠깐 잡아다 빼미스 개침버려
Oh, lasso trunka gap do the ni gyo.
Oh, 룽카나니 두 수, 터요 양um 두 스탕게 잡아래.
Oh, lasso.
어때 내가 베지나라 룽참을 파바들 송디하래. 어디 룽참을 파바다 제대 다 녀무 기회 갑라다 냠린 제들이 룽참을 파바대. 다양 지나 루루구두다 때서양 고배왕게 배 동랭기 미바치야 들어와. 그래서 투주기와 말해. 가가래.
And so whatever it is that gets us kind of worked up and feeling upset, whether it is intense jealousy, anger, pride, whatever it is, we can't meditate when we're experiencing those strong emotions. And so this watching and counting the breath is actually a skillful means of bringing the afflictive emotions and the mind under control. And actually, there was a story that Ling Rinpoche wrote about, that he spoke about and wrote about, that we can, take an example from. So, for example, let's say there is, someone who's not too clever, someone who might be just really, very dull-witted. Someone like this who's really dull-witted, even, if you were to say something, to them that could be upsetting, even looking to invoke, or be provocative, actually they aren't going to be able to get too upset about what you said, simply because they just don't have the mental capacity to do so. And so, others might look at that person and think, oh, wow, that, such a good practitioner, so clever. Look, he didn't even get all worked up about that. He was able to stay completely in control without getting angry. And so that's just an example. What can we take from that? Actually, we can understand and be very, very clever with this, knowing that we ourselves have the ability to do the very same thing, because when we feel triggered or we're, about to kind of lose our temper, then we can remember. And we can, again, take this, observe the breath, count the breath, observe and count. And actually, this distracts us or keeps us busy in a way that the afflictive emotions can arise because we're too busy counting our breaths. So actually, this is a very, very clever, skillful means. And then, in particular, it's spoken of in the scriptures when we're counting by multiples of 2. And we're imagining the breath through the right nostril as that's coming and going as red, and the breath from the left is white. And we're, for example, counting in 2, and then when we exhale, then the next breath it would be 4, and then 6. So every time it's 2. So for one breath it's 2 because we're visualizing that red and white stream of breath. So it's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, and so forth. And we can go all the way up. Maybe we can get to 24. But in any event, this is a very a great method for whenever we're feeling afflicted and we want to get back in control of our mind and pacification of the afflictive emotions. Chegom, Jogom, Shargom.
Oh. Chegom zedita yundungazo pejata. Any samlutan chepajederwa. Yani ando samtayade. The chegomre. The misiva kechimore. Shargom zedgala, Regism you coachani roa. Samlutan the Regism you coachani. Anything Lamgi Rimbape, Loyula Shajuina. Tele Shargom Sigore. Yani Andope, Lamgi Rimba del Susu, Kang Sheba de Louis de there is some time dayina, Tele Shargom Lagore. Missiva Ketchimbuchire.
La so Geshe Dene Shargom dang Chegom mani Dene di Kebar Karayore, Dini Bardo. Chegom dang
Shargom. Louis the Chepa Chegora, Tambut Chepa Chepe, you mean Dono Chenny. Any Dono Kazu Che the Chinitini, Pagi and Regitan you watch Harungurwa. Watch Hanitini Lamgirimba, too much Jimbe, Rimbachini, that Louis the Charwo war. Melona was a Union Charanazin.
Lasso.
Lula. Take your
Lasso. Dodo.
What a terry. Any ta. Hipe, Tonta, Chepat, Chetan, Tenipe, Susan, Nepeton, Pagi, Diri, Sambajingora, Telatape, Nilu Telang, Jitape, Semtiji Begoni Jaya de la Jom Sigore. Jacom one Masona, Jom Yoa Pecavore. Jegum Masala Shagum Jaya Kabore. In the Chagumpe Ketchumbudo, Pechaltaya, lawyer, some of the Ketchumbuchagua.
And so there are different types of categories of meditation also that that we need to employ. We have analytical meditation, we have resting meditation, and then we have insights of meditation, or meditation that has arisings. And so with the first type of meditation, analytical meditation, this is something actually we're doing all the time. We listen to teachings, we read books about the Dharma, we read instructions, and then we analyze them. We think about the meaning, we find out, what does this mean, what doesn't this mean, and we continue to think about and process the information that we're taking in. This is analytical meditation. When we have the meditation where we having like progressing and like arising through explanation and commentary on that which we've learned, we actually begin to progress along the path in progressive stages of meditation. we're advancing on the path at this process of meditation. This is something also that's not static, it's changing and we're advancing. And so actually, then in order for us to ever get to that point, we get to that point, oh, I'm sorry, so I skipped one part, so correction. So once we have analyzed, once we have really used intellectual processes and analyzed and processed that which we have learned, we come to an understanding. Oh, it's this. Oh, the nature of reality is this, and we understand it. Taking that which we have processed and come to an understanding of integrating it and just holding that realization of what we have now understood in the mind is what is this resting meditation. Another of the categories, a resting meditation. We just simply rest within that which we have come to understand through the process of analyzation and through progressing and advancing on the path. We can now meditate within that understanding. So we can see that actually we could never get to the point of resting meditation, really resting in the nature of reality without first having analyzation and without progressing in advancing on the path either. So we must start with the mind that analyzes that which we are learning.
샤롬 제디가라 디지털 기과차 우로와 다저는 약간이 zonde 람기림바다 디지털 기과차 아니 수수sem라데 이 과차샤게데 sem나 멜로나진다 멜로나 중년 차르나지 sem나 차르 연구야나 윤도 텐디 3단계나 델라 샤롬 지고래 미스베 깨치모래 디디 샤롬 가서 지체나네 산랑 체루 연구로 와 아니 다 디지네는 조금 제나 단 조금 세디가라 심지지보다 두고 당보 심지지보다 뭐 좀나 조금 영어야 거나 영어로
And so we start with analytical meditation, and really with the analytical, intellectual processes of mind and understanding, we really we really try to figure this out. And actually then and this is a type of meditation, analytical meditation, then the meaning of that which we understand appears on the mind. It arises for us or appears to us just like a reflection appears in the mirror. When this meaning actually, not through an intellectual process, but appears in the mind, arises in the mind stream, just like a reflection on the surface of a mirror, we then sit with that recognition single-pointedly, and that is resting meditation. And then actually this is something that develops in a way that which arises in the mind, like this reflection in the mind or this realization in the mind, this seeing, this appearance, this more like a rising, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And then we can meditate on that very clear understanding in resting meditation. But actually, until we're able, and we rest single-pointedly, but until we have the ability to rest the mind single-pointedly, we actually can't come to that resting meditation on that which we've understood. So that really depends on developing single-pointed meditation.
Then they galante, and it won't get the galata. Midi Karjun and Dior, Midela Karjan and Dior, Susu, Gayajun, the Susu 도아이나다 카레나 미텔은 디고래 다 뭐네 덤비 구자이나 남바지나 남베 덤비 구자나 약소드래 소놈사야 징차고래 아니 덤비 구 담보르베 수수 일레베 야고 지샤라지네 아니 춘춘지 이거 잡오지 살보지 눈나 살다 랑네 양자차나 라바뇨 잠질라기 생기기 기타베티지 때가라니베 이거 잡오지 민zam카도 때라 섬당고레스 이거 잡오되기 아니 오빠지 거래 살보되기 징화지 거래 숨도
아니 데도 곰캡도 아니 디 캡수드네 디 믹디 디 당야메나체
당암 담아도 미두 서다이니 조선에 섬당고 거라 미 나자바네 미라 통고마 다섬나네 배 덤베구 춘춘지 이거 잡오지 섬나 따따갈 셈까지 내기도 따오래 되게 첨버리 셈치로 줘야돼 오고백인지 거래 아니 미나 마살나 지원레인 거래 셈하정 두자 거래
And so now we start out ready for our first session of meditation. And how exactly do we go about this? So you take a comfortable cushion, place your seat, place your body in the meditation posture as we have earlier mentioned. And then you're going to have an object of your meditation, something that you are going to visualize and rest your mind on that object. And it can really be anything. It could be a stone. It could be actually anything that you would like to visualize, something you'd like to hold in your mind. Now, of course, as Buddhists, something that would be very virtuous and very good is a form of the Buddha, picture of the Buddha. You could close your eyes and you could imagine a form of the Buddha. And some certain points, when you visualize whatever it is you choose as your object of visualization, then you should visualize it as rather small, heavy, having the quality of heaviness, and something that is vividly clear. So these three things are important: small, heavy, and clear. And so the reason that we do this for something that is, so the clarity aspect, when you visualize something very vividly, it helps to prevent the impediment of sleepiness and lethargy. When it is something very heavy, so then the heaviness of the object helps to counteract the mind going outward, the mind like getting agitated or, you know, losing focus on this object and going off somewhere else. And so those are very important. So you visualize this, and it should be about 1 arm's length in front of you. Your eyes are closed, and the object is like kind of at your, in between the brow center, about a hand's length in front of you. Clear, heavy, and small. And see how long you can actually keep your mind just on like a picture in your mind of that object, how long you can stay there. And so when the mind gets distracted, like outward, you know, is kind of, you know, looking out, you know, outward and agitated, this is, you know, one of the impediments. And then it sinking inward or getting lethargic is the second impediment. And so these are the 2 things that we look to counteract. These are the 2 ways our mind can go, either sunken or busy.
Oh, gopa sidigala semchirul chundu kore. Wam the chaki charto chad gopa sing the zone the charto chad. Karin the charto karja rangazo chasade rola chagore. Dila chagore, rechala chagore, zula chagore, zuda tiro recha, 띵알 차고와 띵알 차니 샘데 네마도 제 치료로 차고와 미바타겔 네마도 제네 그래서 드디어 제가 그거가 타지도 더 차게 차도래.
And so we have these two general classifications of what can happen in meditation that distracts us from keeping the mind completely still. One of them is agitation or movement. And what this means is that the mind has moved outside. The attention has moved outside. It has moved outside to an object due to attachment. So this this is due to attachment because we're being attracted outward to one of the objects of the senses that attracts us, that we have attachment to or wanting to connect to in that moment, such as, so we can be distracted by tastes, by smells, by sounds, by forms. We have the 5 objects of the senses that is going to be one of these that catches our attention and takes us outward. So it's one of these 5, either form, sound, smell, feeling, zukuro. So either form, sound, smell, taste, or touch. One of these 5, or sensation, we could say, one of these 5 is going to attract us, and we are going to connect with it, and we're now out of our meditation.
자라쟁인들 소바소리지리 시진다 템바니 균도 땡과데 페미시브 개침모레 아니 셈데 네메아제 시진기 자라체 아니 이 셈데 데갈 네메제 야니 zuulacha, yani ndalacha, teni trosoina, yangyur te mide tagala, yangyur jembe zune lengu, yang mide gale shawaya. Odo dus yang du chewade, pe misuka chamber te, ndigala, langrim namdro labcha nala, semne gu tu bia yore. Ote zu loda, semne gu. Semne gu. Langrim namdro labcha na yore. Halter semne sumba zuba, gopa cho chung gore, gopa. Semne sumba zuba.
So this is one of the possibilities of what can happen in our experience of meditation. And actually, if we think about it as we go about our day-to-day lives, what is it that we are connecting with? That we're creating all of these kind of attachment-oriented relationships with. These are the objects of the senses, or what are called the 5 sense pleasures, like attachment to the tastes of food and certain smells and certain sounds. Whatever it is we get involved with is one of these 5. And the same will come up within our meditation. And so what's really important is that we have mindful awareness. So there needs to be an aspect of attention that is checking to see and know that we have been attracted and our attention is now outward. So we need to have this, this attentiveness that says, oh, no longer meditating, just got attached, just, started thinking or about this smell that I can smell from downstairs. So there has to be a vigilant aspect to what we're attending to that constantly is aware and brings us back, reminds us to come back to our object of meditation, come back to single-pointedness on this object out in front of me. Oh, I have wandered outward, come back. Again and again, always have mindful awareness. Have this vigilant aspect that again and again will notice when it's off, your mind is off, the mind is off the object, and it brings it back. And so this is actually very important to always have this aspect in your meditation, to bring notice and then bring it back. And you can read more about this within the state Lamrim Namdro, the stages.
Namrim Namdro Lachang.
Lachang.
Maybe Pabonka Lamrim said.
Pabonka Lamrim.
Yeah.
So the stages of the path by Pabonka, the Pabonka Lamrim, and you could read, especially in the chapter of the nine stages of meditation.
Ini ta tu sini semchirul ta troyeda gopache gopekenje. Ta semchirul to tromacho has ini 하장 누다나 셈데 누다나 징와레 거래. 어디 징와스긴데래 뱀미스바양 딜라양 시징기 자라지네 징와렘도 민도 따야돼 시징기 자랄래 제. 다 징와레 때와 학원 시징가 학원나 젬벨 니 양결 셈반 투르다네 다 셈도 술르네 젬벨르네 양 두스셔거래. 어디 전신이 지네두비하게 차킹이었나 맨날 tension 템바데 시징이들에. 갈킨 적인데 쪼쪼데 아니 고파다 징완이래. 아 징완 시디가라 아니 미바데 셈데 미베갈 네디요아체. 네디요아체. 살차메나 살포메나 루일라 미데데 살포 셰기메나 셈데 네디요 가질라 살포메나 디 징와라 아파레. 디 레라보 하고 와래. 다가 망체지. 뭔게 강갈런데 레라보 하고 그래. 징와라 아파레. 어디 숨바.
And so that was a little bit about how we work with our mind. If the mind becomes agitated, we lose our meditation because we're thinking about something else. Our attention has gone outward. But also, and so that's one of the impediments to meditation, but also we can have lethargy within our meditation, which is also not something that is not favorable to meditation. What happens within lethargy is it begins, instead of going outward, it gets so inward that it begins to kind of collapse and we get very lethargic. So again, we're not on our object in a very clear and stable way because it is dull. There is a dullness here. And if you also remember, we need to have mindfulness, but we need to have vigilance. We need to have that attentive aspect of the mind that is watching. Has my mind sunken? Has it gotten so dull that I'm beginning to get lethargic and I'm no longer staying on my object of meditation? It is this aspect of mindful awareness that is really going to help you stay away from either one of these two sides, either too agitated or too dull. So you really must always have that vigilant aspect, and in this case, it would be saying, I'm getting lethargic, it's getting dull, I'm no longer clearly meditating. And one way you can tell actually if you are falling into this side is you're still meditating, like your mind is still very still. It's not all over the place like it was in that first agitated mind, but actually the object that you were visualizing, here we have the picture of the Buddha or the form of the Buddha, is no longer clear. You no longer have that, it goes out of focus. When it goes out of focus, you know, and that's easy for one to recognize that you've fallen into this second category. And again, it's mindful awareness that recognizes things have become dull. I need to add an element to bring it back to real meditation.
어다 샘데 네디여 바치 사차여지 살치 마르메나 사후레 살피 마슈도 메나 지와 타모레 디페미스 지와 타몰라 옴dun더는 빼 마보여레스 순고아레
Lasso dene chingwa rakpa ani yurdu yang ani dene salcha yomare dedu salcha yomare
다 살차 요마레
lasso
샘데 네비 요와 간지라 샘데 미디간라 네디 요와 간지라 살차 메야지 살후 메야지
lasso
지와 라파레
lasso dene chingwa
라방 모시니야 샘징토 구워라 디리 다 징토 단다라 장주기 샘 오메야당 아니 샘 삼당야당 간제 샘로 뽑아게야 삼당과데 개침물에 오빠 용도가라 또 미다바당 때도 샘로 또서 미다바 삼당야데 저 개침물에 오빠레디
lasso
제제라 아니 닌 집이 삼로 고르고와 뭐다 뭐들이 인규
okay ani pochuma song dene chingwa rakpa dang chingwa ani tramo gi kebar ani
뭐다
kare
다 지와 라빠데
tramo
지와 트라모데 샘데 미베 가나 네디요 하지 살차요 하지
oh salcha yerpachek
살차요 하지 살차 마르메나 샘네 ngarsu지어와 니바 템기 ngarsu도 메나
lasso
지와 트라모를 되지 이 곰도 죽는 빼만 보여래
lasso lasso
세상 지와 트라모라 가와요래 다 가와요래 미가와이 룸마땡요래 완전 미가와요 말해 지와 라팔라 게미 룸마땡 순가용 저거래
okay chingwa rapa la ani lungmaten
지와 라팔라 룸마땡요래 룸마땡 지와 트라모라요래
lasso ani chingwa tramo la yang ani ge yang yore
지와 라팔라 게미기 룸마땡 순가요래 지와 트라모라 파죠 미가와다 얘기 말해 룸마땡다 가와니
lasso
중앙 담고 홈도 중간만 거래. 중앙 담고 홈도 둘나 리바 교부 차기를 숨다. 여러 뱅이네 같이 모두.
lasso and so Geshe La has just spent a few minutes clarifying. Here we have dullness. There are actually a couple of stages of dullness, and you can recognize which stage you're in through the following explanation, which I just worked to clarify because the difference is a little bit subtle. So if you are feeling so if in your meditation you still have a single pointedness, but you have lost the clarity. This is something very easy to know. It goes out of focus, and you can't see what you were trying to see within your mind's eye. You've lost it. This is coarse dullness. Easy to know, easy to recognize. How do we bring ourselves back if we're in coarse dullness? Think about bodhicitta. Think about the benefits of practice. Think about the quality of mind, the qualities of bodhicitta. It will be inspiring, and it will bring one's focus back. It brings one back to life, so to speak, brings clarity back by remembering bodhicitta, qualities of bodhicitta, brightening up that mind with a confidence of the importance of bodhicitta. You will be back with your visualization by doing that. But on the other hand, let's say there's a dullness, but there's still clarity. You can still see, you still can visualize your object, but there's no oomph behind it. You've got the clarity, but you don't have a lot of life, a lot of oomph. It is kind of a like very static. It has no oomph behind it. This is how you know that you are in subtle dullness. And this is, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama has spoken about the dangers of kind of falling into this kind of meditation that has the subtle dullness to it. You've got to bring that force back to it, bring that oomph back to it in order for it to be, to really be a good meditation, beneficial meditation. And by doing this, we then have a meditation that is virtuous. So Geshe explained that in both types of meditation of dullness, even though you've fallen into dullness, gross dullness, of course dullness, your meditation is no longer virtuous. It is either, it has the qualities of being neutral or being non-virtuous. When we have subtle dullness, this more subtle dullness, it has so it has virtue, and it has the qualities of virtue, and it has the qualities of neutralness, just being kind of neither positive nor negative. The only thing it's lacking here is full negativity, whereas the negativity came to the point in the gross dullness. So if we want to bring back, and so we spoke a little bit about how to restore oneself if you are having dullness. Remember, that's the bodhicitta, remembering the qualities of bodhicitta, getting confidence back in the practice of the Dharma to get re-inspired. And when we have outward busyness or the agitation of mind, that first adverse quality to our meditation, then this, we think about this distractedness, outer distractedness, think about impermanence. And again, think about the practice of the Dharma and how things are impermanent. And again, you'll be inspired to get right back into your meditation. And hopefully that was clear.
Yeah. Tindi Nicolata, Chingwa Trani, Jetan Shiwade, Chingwa the Opa Jetan Shishu, Womnani, Mizu Ketchimbori. Tishavala, Jinshin in Machina, Chingwa Jetan Shia Kabori. Jinshin Gundu Pet Temple, where the Ketchimbuchadi.
So it's very important when we're meditating that the meditation has the aspect of stability. And in order to maintain and sustain stability, we need to have the aspect of a mindfulness and of attentiveness or vigilance that sees if we're staying on our object. We must have those two. Because if we don't have those two to ever identify, never mind the two, the subtle and coarse dullness, but also to recognize outer distraction, without mindful awareness, we're not going to notice. And so because stability is such an important factor in meditation, it is really indispensable that we always go into our meditation having that also this attentiveness.
Kachita Sebudoa, Mididi, Laji, Semchirultrona, Opa. Midid Malaji, Tape, Semchiru the Motoji, Sem Hachang Dutani, any Sem the Nedio Kanjila, any Womdegi, Nipa Salumena, Chiwaraba. Nipa ye, any Sem the Nedio Kanjila, such a Morsumena, Chiwatamu. This is Ketchambore. What to do, Sine? That is something it's in Bachigio Mare. The Rumlambrunala, Nipanga, Nibundiji, Tenny, is sent to Tachigore.
Nepanga
Nipangayore, Kilma, Nimbundiji, or the Tenitani, young Jin to Tasungore. There's a back at Chambore.
Nepanga dang
Nimbundiji,
Alaso.
The Ton is Jin to Tasungore. Then top 2 in the cheat than Tasungore. What is the Lambrim Salvador? Because a lot of us.
So again, reiterating, hopefully it's been clear, but what we need to know is basically these three things. First one is to recognize when you have lost your meditation due to being distracted outwardly. You lost your meditation. You're outward on some object of the senses. You've heard something. You're thinking about something. So that's the first category. Secondly, so you're no longer meditating. Secondly, you haven't lost your meditation. You're still, the mind is still stilled, but the object of your meditation is no longer clear. Although you're meditating, although your mind is still, the object of your meditation is not clear. This is, of course, dullness. So you're still, but you've become dull. And then secondly, you're meditating, but you do have your visualization. You have a clear visualization, but there's no real presence behind it. It's really missing a dynamism that must be there, this presence that needs to be restored. And so there are these three kind of impediments or ways we can kind of like go astray, or experiences that we can have that bring us out of the desired meditation. And as well, there are different aspects to bring into our meditation, such as the 5 certainties, the eight antidotes, and the 6 powers. And these can all be applied within our meditation practice. You can read more about those within the, again, within that Lam Rim, the stages of the path, scripture. You can learn more about those, and you should read about those.
Teni lui xinjiang tu biare. Mule lui xinjiang tu, teni se xinjiang tu, teni jine tu biare. Oda tu siores, rimba bangpo yore.
So there are many, actually, there are stages of accomplishment in this practice that lead us in a way to so we start with the 9 stages of calm abiding. And so we're working our way through these 9 stages. And while we're working through these 9 stages, at first we are working in the beginning of these 9 stages where we're applying effort. Later on, further up in the stages, it becomes effortless. There is no reason to apply any effort. The momentum of the practice, and you're just in the high stages of practice. And as we go through these stages, we accomplish what is called the pliancy of body. So we really experience this ecstatic pliancy of body. And then the same with the mind, pliancy, complete pliancy of the mind, and then complete accomplishment of calm, abiding meditation. And so the progression goes like that. And so as beginners, it's really important for those of us who are just beginning to take up a meditation practice. You know, we need to know more about it than it's just, you know, sitting, you know, with our, just like this with our eyes closed. We need to know what's happening. It's not just about closing our eyes, but to actually know what we're bringing into this inward experience. Kandre? Oh, ani kondak I cannot see. Tong tup kimendo. Yeah.
Tumbi dus chene tape tumbi kujin duleja tumba inata kutene dulejane eni tu se migiltane deshagdo.
Oh, laso.
Ela hargum lagre te gom khuna ru mare.
Oh, laso.
Eni chigyo mare. Wangpunge gom chigo ma gom de yiki shibe chigorwa.
Oh, laso. Yeah.
Eni gunje kombalep chigyo mare.
And then there are others who think, well, they'll take a statue of the Buddha and place it before them and meditate in the following way, which is also not the way you want to do it. They may take a form of the Buddha and place it on the ground before them and then kind of mimic the looking. So with their eyes, they're just staring at the form of the Buddha, kind of mimicking with their body what the body of the Buddha is doing and thinking that that's meditation. That's also not meditation, because actually meditation is something that is internal. It's done with the mind. It's not something that we do with the other faculties of the body, except for the mental faculty.
땅아서 이신주비하게 책임 되기 진거제다 아니 semne 구투 상태에서 다 이신주비하게 책임 연애면하래.
And so the way that we do meditate is through understanding these 9 stages that you will reach when you start your meditation practice, how to place your body, how to visualize, knowing the main impediments to your meditation, such as being distracted or being dull, and knowing how to counteract those. This is how we embark and engage in the practice of calm abiding. Lasso. And so now we've kind of finished that, first point, explaining how calm abiding meditation has a part in our path of practice, why we meditate, and we talked a little bit about how we meditate. And so now Geshe-la is wondering, it's about 10 after 5, and he's wondering, what would you all like next? Should we go into the text, and he could read some in the text, and we can go into the verses? And has this been helpful? Has this been beneficial? And so probably we don't have a lot of time to read further and get very far in the text, but maybe we could take a question or two here. Would that be helpful?
I do have a question. How would we, if we're getting distracted by the sensations of the winds, how do we go about calming those or not letting that become a distraction for us?
Okay, can I clarify also for you, for myself, I'm sorry, do you mean like outer winds, a windy day, or do you mean the inner winds by counting the breath or having
the
breathing? Uh-huh. Okay, got it. Okay, ani triwat chik ani yore ani Geshe-la? 아니 계랑 아니 ngoma pena ngato di nyomong shar 아니 gyula shana gyula kena dene uk 아니 ukgyapya de dene tranka gyapya de 아니 tapshi chikre yana di yang pelcher di yang sem yang ware 아니 ukyap 아니 gyap sem yang 아니 mayang with 아니 chedu 아니 dela
mare hom jab kaptul techi lagu amarwa ti karazana susu hom jenin roache semla sem tu diyo na ta sem tu kyo de jia tondala lung chamla phabat chegore ese sungore
oh laso
ta hom jab kaptul techana yengwa chagirwa ti techi gi amare
laso
sem tu diyo be kabla hom yemnin jide sem tu diyo wache ta sem tu diyo na hom ge tu marwa ota sem tu ge den jamea tondala lung chamla phabat chegore ese ke chimbu chadiyo ko tapshi jiri sem tu kyo de jia tondal tapshi
yes and so actually we only are looking to employ attention to the breath when we need to calm the winds that have become upset because the mind is upset. We've become emotional, we've become angry. And whenever we have become upset, we can't meditate anyways. We have come to a point where we're out of our meditation. So attention to the breath is a technique that is used to bring the winds down because they become disturbed when the mind becomes disturbed. And so it's a technique when we become upset to calm and pacify the winds. It brings them to a calm and gentle point, actually. But we shouldn't pay heed or attention necessarily to the breathing. We shouldn't do that when we're meditating. Because if we are, then as you say, it becomes a distraction. And then we're distracted by the winds rather than meditating. But rather, this was brought up to be an antidote to agitation. Was that clear, Indy?
Yes, thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? Pelcher Shanda ni Yomare.
Could you go through one more time of all the different types of meditation? Just a quick overview. Don't have to go in depth.
Yeah. Ani Geshe ani yang care ani dorduna ani drashe ani goya yomare ani dordu check dene di gomrik sum ki korla check sungro che pana chegom jogong shargom.
Oh, ta chegom de mazo lobjong zozu chegom to lobjong je dere. Rwa. Yang yang do ta 오따는 디가라 개버지 디어라 가서 탑기 차 온디가라 좋아 탑기 차 잠바다 니제다 뜻고라 좀 미남 깨야 돼 미남 미 잠다 니지 미빈나 베컴서다 미남 깨야 돼 미바다 나바니 진짜 미바 섬전 탐제 에니베 dungal kimde namba dungal kimde namba chine ninam kyangya de shitake chambore ani ta songbani ta mita pada tedo then tonda damen jidang yudo komsere tonda damen ta mita pada tedo jidang yudo chene tabe yudo yujen chene komya dre ti cheparche gore chamba niji to doshe minam 장에서 뺏게 좀 버려.
Yes.
어디지? 다 제공대 홈탐적이 답에 체킹 위원회 맨나데 제공래 제공 맨날 샤롬이에요 말에. 조금이에요 말에. 이게 딱 아주 로종제 제바제 양양도 제바제야 돼.
라소.
시라게 첨버래. 아니 돈이라 예 제금 돈이 땅보 다샤제네. 되니 지구 지금 내봐야 분야서 되니 이제는 조금 제야마다 때마다 가버래. 어떤 이제 니남 짱한테 시라게 첨버래. 니남 짱한테.
디치고.
첨버어. 아니 샤곰 지디갈다 제바제네. 아니 대지전지 고아차네. 다 든지샤나다 라라브로와 배 약속들어와. 대마이만나 대지전지 고아차네. 아니 때 바르 림바 마투어제네. 아니 셈나라 샤르드 주네. 아니 나 니섬들이 니 용구에 선대면 람기 림바도 좀 얘기하나? 대시 샤곰 지고. 뱀스럽게 첨버래. 어다 디 데니지 아니 차장지 용구야나? 데니 주고 미바치 갈데 셈치치 버투야 다 리라부 차고 때마다 배 가버려.
라소. 데네 조금.
먼저 건데. 데니 조금데 데 레라 차거든. 데니 뭔들 송나? 송 넘어서는 서서 잘라 간가 열어. 잘라 연나? 종야 레라로. 아무도 잘라 다 컬렉션 쪽으로 와. 종야도 걸어. 조금데 조금 야부째 두고 샤금 야부째 두고 인지 밀라. 조금 제 시라 레라 차래.
Lasso. So again, going through the three kinds of meditation, there is the analytical meditation. There is the, I guess I kind of a loose translation would be the arising of the meaning meditation and resting meditation. That would be resting in the meaning. And so first, when it comes to the analytical meditation, that's when we study. That's when we're doing all this input. That's when we're learning. That's when remember, we have method and wisdom. We have these two categories. We have method. We have the method of arising bodhicitta for the purpose of all sentient beings. This is all within method. These are all when we're studying and analyzing the different aspects of the path. This is in meditation. We're learning. We're taking it in. Now there are different objects of our learning. We have also we have the learning and analyzing on bodhicitta and compassion, but then we also have the learning of the really profound subjects of emptiness and impermanence. So now we have the subject that is meditating on the object of either compassion or emptiness or impermanence, or analyzing these rather than, sorry, I made a mistake there, analyzing emptiness and impermanence. This is all the first category. This is analytical meditation. We're learning about these things. So there's differences in the objects that we're learning about, but it's all analytical meditation. And now secondly, we have this meditation where we have the arising of the meaning in the mind stream. So through analyzing all that we have been learning about, really putting it to the test, thinking about it, progressing in the different stages of what we have been learning about, and in, with the learning with the excellent Lama, we come to the understanding, oh, it's like this. It's like the aha moment. It dawns in our mind. This is like the dawning of the meaning. And this is the second kind of meditation. And we go through all of those stages of analyzing and thinking about it, and then the meaning dawns in our mind. This is the second kind of meditation. The third kind of meditation, resting meditation. So now that it's dawned in our mind, we can actually take the object of meditation that we're sitting with is the meaning. that we've understood. And so we've done the first two stages, you know, like when we want to do business and we want to get somewhere, we want to make some profit, and we want something like to have a product, you know, we have to have the materials to do business with. And that's what the first and second stages do, the analytical meditation and processing of that information so that it dawns in our mind, brings us to the third point, which is resting meditation. And in resting meditation, we sit single-pointedly with the meaning that has dawned. We can now rest our mind in that profound meaning. So those are the three: analytical, the dawning of the meaning, and resting meditation. So we must, when we say the term single-pointed meditation, we should really be careful about our understanding of what that means. Single-pointed meditation is when the mind is resting, completely unmoving. It is the mind that is completely and directly resting on an object completely unwaveringly. This is what it means, single-pointed meditation.
police can haku marwa kramdu midu tagande sobag tagro sobag police tegene police kin jugro tedan dabore shejin de seme zurchine tungto padin be karendu gudu be charayimi chene ne be charachene o dichin lendu midu tete ene tembe tape phagi tigal jane ene tungto jide jeno majoju tungto zindagandala jambasi gore Shantideva. The thinking, you know, menade. Thinking a maldan, thinking maldan, the genitive to a cabore. I can chugoni, seche a water, take a chambore.
So now, in order to accomplish single-pointed meditation, having the mind be able to abide single-pointedly, then we must completely eliminate agitation and dullness of the mind. We must rid our mind of these qualities during meditation. And in order to do that, the favorable conditions, what we can do to make sure that happens is we have to have awareness. We also have to have mindfulness, this watchful and observant aspect of our mind that is watching over what we're doing. Whether we have a distractedness or sunkenness in our meditation doesn't matter. We won't know if we don't have mindfulness and awareness, because having this awareness, this observer, we have to have the observer who then can see a problem, because then we need the police, right? We need to have that mindfulness that knows, okay, now we need the police to come in and say, okay, there's a problem here, and we gotta fix this problem. If there aren't, if there isn't the awareness that realizes that there's a problem, then they're not going to send the police. We need the overwatcher to be able to send in the police, which is our methods of applying our antidotes. And so mindfulness and awareness are so important. Actually, if we don't have these present in our meditation, we will not accomplish calm abiding meditation. So we absolutely need them because they are what will help us eradicate either one of in our meditation, either dullness or distraction.
제만은 아주 추중이 규칙이잖아요. 또 가봄이 됐어. 잠자고도 가르치고도.
So we've now had a couple of hours here, and what are people feeling? Has this been a difficult amount of time? How has this worked out? And what are you feeling like at this point? Does it feel like it's time to end here?
This, for me, has been a good amount of time. It's also been extremely valuable instruction, and it feels about like the right amount of time from just speaking personally.
Ani morangi ani dilap song geshela ani nga yena duto di ani tata chaso ani duto di dene chuto nipa ringla dene nga yena tata cha ani chasong de demate ani keranki ani lapsha de dene nune pentokcho e yapocho.
제만에 도스치는 아주 작은 도스치기나 와. 엠보에 나와서 째나야 그래. 아니 양 뜻으로라 양 브레이크 자고에나 결혼서 가졌지. 아니 미치게 데렉터랑 간디지 지동이나 아니 그러면 주 정화 가리나 도스치네 백전한지 그런 나다 기버기네 말이지.
Diring yamena maupala.
마음팔아.
Maupala.
이리다 살살아.
Oh, less.
디린다가 양손을 지는 하마고.
Less. And so if that's been a good amount of time, then we can, plan for that in the future. Meet in this way if this has been beneficial for you to meet in this way. We can plan for that again in the future. We might want to add a little bit more time, 10, 15 minutes, where there can be some back and forth like discussion, and talking amongst ourselves about, the content too. But and I said, did you mean for today or next in the future? And Geshe said, well, for this week where, we can pretty much, this has been perfect, but maybe in the future we can add that. So really, Geshe says for him, it doesn't matter. He really wants to meet your needs and do what's most helpful for you and what you find most valuable and what you're excited about. So please, make sure you let him know, or you could let, speak about it now, or let Doug know in the future, and we can plan for that and kind of modify.
갈리는데 모르는 백지 그러면 정원이 슈가전 백 당겨냈다. 이니지기 단진치네 야버레스.
Dini gomgyaptu yamana kiran kachu sungdu.
말말 최세디가라.
Oh, okay.
최세디가라 양 비모단 깨받아서 나대이나 점바 땐두구마라 갈리.
Oh, las. Really. Oh, las. Also, Geshe said that we can restructure this time because it might be a long time to sit for this long without being able to get up and stretch our legs. And then it's hard to just pay attention for a long period of time. We can also work in a little break or change the timing so that it's not so hard to sit for so long. That's also a possibility. And I think maybe someone was going to make a comment also.
I've got a question. If Geshe would answer one more question. Back when we were in chapter 7, at the very end, verse 76, it talked about when you reach the stage of complete physical and mental flexibility. feel great. Well, I'm reading from the notes of your translation from that. And then today, he talked about in the stages, the 9 stages of calm abiding, that there, at one point, there's this pliancy of body, and then the same with the mind. And so I'm seeing this flexibility and this pliancy physically. So where is evidence of that in, you know, we have these great spiritual teachers, these great masters, but they're not all running around like gymnasts. Where is there evidence of that sort of accomplishment? Thank you.
Ani pana Geshe di sem xinjiang dang lu xinjiang Europe tak ani kari ore kangin sana pana ngato di guru di lama ani lama denso ngato di zamlingla lama tsachempo lama ani say ani topo ani mampo ani yogere yanayang konso yang ani semdang lu xinjiang ani drup yosore yanayang di drupe tap ani kari ore
drupe tap ta tampo semne gumde tu gore semne gumde madu bala lu xinjiang tu ya khana ya male lu xinjiang thumna lu symbol tra yangbo cha gore lu yangbo lu ji nengelingin dibatane tanamazu totunden dibana kampana pimona kepana chikdwa xinjiang na tesu gini yaw marta ni hachang yangbo chalware mile jaba ji phirgiminde xinjiang tu bitare sem xinjiang gibi sengi nengelin gin dibata sar yaw mare sem la sem gin nengelin gin diba nengelin sta sem la mazu jendo ya ta tende mangbu yongudwa sem xinjiang tu na tesu yaw marta
kare yomare konda kyapo komo
tanda ngazu lemsan chi tana je dugudwa
re
sem xinjiang tu sana ta tende yomare
okay
sem nengeling dibata sare
jaya yomare
jaya yomare nije bizung ma som thop sare te ya bore tangpos lu xinjiang tu ne jeni sem xinjiang tu yare
laso and so first we should understand that without having completely accomplished all of the stages of meditation, the 9 stages of meditation, having traversed through the highest stage of meditation, then there is no achieving that physical and mental pliancy. So those 9 stages must be perfected, must have been completely accomplished. And so some of the signs of having accomplished physical pliancy is that in a practitioner who has accomplished this, the body is very very light, is very agile. There's a mastery and a lightness to the body. For example, like, you know, this type of practitioner could fly in the sky. So that would be a sign of this. And as far as mental, the signs of this mental pliancy, the mind has the ability to receive information and retain this information. So for us, we could read and study something and forget it. But for someone who has complete mastery and pliancy over their mind, this will become part of their memory. They won't forget it. And as far as how progressively, how it is accomplished, first one, you know, so also Geshe said, outside of the lightness and agility in control over the body, like for us, our bodies, you know, sometimes our arms hurt, our legs hurt, we have pains here and there. They, you know, there's always like perfect health. There's always like perfect balance and lightness in the body. And one first masters the pliancy, the physical pliancy, and then the mental pliancy. In the
Junju nala, Junju Ludunbena yore.
Oh, lasso. Ani yankir?
Lungi, lung royong de gala singbal yoro, singbal zanita, tanda karla ora. Timbal zoli singla yongdo. Timbal do. Tipe lungi kina kaba kikido wang yangbu jene wang yuni kedo da. Wada lui singjan tumna ta lui de tende yangbu debo chago ore. Anisbe kejimbo.
And so, yes, actually, and as you yourself did mention, that we talked about this in the 7th chapter, towards the end of the 7th chapter, and I was looking to find the exact, oh, here it is. It's number 76. Just as flaxen threads waft to and fro, impelled by every breath of wind. So when the mind and the body become pliant, they become just, so flexible. So, they have the ability to almost effortlessly move in any direction, effortlessly. So just as it says in this verse 76.
That the yola, mazo Geshe Yabu Tengoya, Payo Jagoya, Mepa Jagoya, Mepasana Gaburwa, Gabigan Tape, mazo Gawala, Sambachiku Ware. Jundi Tengwa. To do that, checking in a minute. Checking Chishojire.
So if we want to work towards these stages within calm abiding meditation, there are some things that are indispensable. They must be aspects of our qualities that we have within our practice, and we must have mindful awareness. We must have conscientiousness, and we must have real interest, like delighted interest, that really wishes to endeavor. And these are things that we absolutely necessarily must have as part of our practice in order to accomplish Shanei, calm abiding. And anyone else have a question or a comment before we're finished? Ilaso Geshe.
You want the pen, Miss Vacation. And it's kind of true Katijana, Total in the Jawani, Jebayana, Fita Chango, the vacation is.
So when we begin any session of learning or any Dharma event or Dharma meeting, Dharma practice, Dharma teaching, when we start with the refuge in Bodhichitta at the beginning and then dedicate the roots of virtue at the end, this is how and when it becomes a true and authentic practice, or a practice of true and authentic Dharma.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
now we'll make dedication.
Molin Joene, Jere Jion, Tenzin Yasu, Jabe, Side, Bato, Tenguruchi, Jampo, Pawe, Chintara Kimba, Undo Zambo, Teon, Tejin, Teta, Pungi, Jiso, Dala, Lewandita, Tamje, Rasu, Sumshibi, Yawa, Tamje, Mokana, Choto, Nabata, Lajin, Zambo.
In the land encircled by snow-white mountains, the source of all happiness and benefit flows in your person. Chenrezig and Sengyamso remain until samsara ends. Just as the Bodhisattva Manjushri attained omniscience and Samantabhadra too, so now I dedicate these merits to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the victorious Buddhas of the past, present, and future praise dedication as supreme, so now I too dedicate these sources of my merit for all beings to perfect good actions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Geshe.
It's a line.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Diane.
Diane.
Thank you, Diane, for setting everything up.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thanks,
Geshe-la.
everyone.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you. Good health
Thank
to
you,
all.
Good to see everyone. Take good care. Be careful. We'll see you next week.